everybody. I'm Dr. Cindy, and welcome to the Positively Altered podcast. I am a chiropractic internist and nutritionist, and most recently, within the last year, a published author of the book called Positively Altered, Finding Happiness at the Bottom of a Chemo Bag. And we're not going to talk about that experience today, but we're actually going to talk about something that is potentially just as scary and can create just as much anxiety. How many of you have ever been to the dentist and thought, I hate the dentist? And what a horrible thing to say about another human being, right? That we hate the dentist. Well, I think a lot of us do. And the statistics actually show that. So we're going to try to overcome that fear today. So real quick, we're going to take a break because it's really important to hear from some of my sponsors. So on that break, while you're listening, go brush, go floss so that you're totally prepared, and then come right back. And I'm going to introduce you to one of my special guests.
Hello, my name is Heather Lord, and I am the COO of Professional Health Products. Cutting corners is an all too common practice in the dietary supplement industry. When my father founded Professional Health Products, he sourced the cleanest, most biologically active ingredients from around the globe. Today, that commitment remains, which is why the finest healthcare practitioners, like Dr. Cindy, have trusted us for more than 40 years. We oversee the entire process in our manufacturing facility, from sourcing and formulation to manufacturing and labeling. Today, we offer over 300 unique products that can be tailored to the nutritional and homeopathic needs of each individual. Most recently, we launched a proprietary genetic test, allowing our practitioners to get even more dialed in to their patients' health. To learn more about Professional Health Products, please talk to your practitioner or visit our website at phpltd.com.
Today, your life is going to be altered. I'm Dr. Cindy.
Welcome to Infinity. We have worked hard to create an electronic claims website that is simple and user-friendly. This is the public side. You can log into your personal web portal here. This is your dashboard. You can personalize it to your liking here. Our main focus has been to allow you to submit and edit claims as easy as possible. You will find our claims editor and claims processing is simple to use and straightforward. Our quick action bar is where you can find your most important information. Most of these icons will take you directly to the claims the number represents. You can easily view if you have any messages in your inbox of any unread alerts by looking for these blue numbers. To view the rest of our training videos to get the most of your Infinity experience, click this icon. We hope you find this web portal simple and easy to use. Thanks for letting us serve you.
I'm Dr. Cindy. Who wouldn't want to join me for the Positively Altered podcast? Welcome back. Do you have the shiny whites going? I know I went and brushed my teeth because it makes me nervous when I go to the dentist to not do that. Isn't that weird that we actually brush the teeth the one time or floss the one time before we go to the dentist? I'm guilty of that, but we're going to talk about some things, including overcoming anxiety when it comes to visiting your favorite or not so favorite dentist. I want to introduce you to Dr. Tom Bordignon. He has a practice in Glenview, Illinois, and most importantly, he's my personal dentist. Tom, Dr. B, welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
Dr. Cindy, all fancy on TV. This is great. It's great to see you. How are you?
You know what? I am fabulous. You know why I'm fabulous? Because I have the most awesome dentist on the planet.
You're too nice. That's very sweet.
No,
very nice.
It's so true. So here's what's really interesting, and I want to get to this a little bit later, so don't let me forget. When I was reading your bio, because I've known you for a very long time, and actually I know you because one of the doctors you worked with, trained under, correct, was actually my family's dentist, Dr. Arnie, got to get that name right, Arnie Gorshow, right, was my parents' dentist, and therefore my dentist as a child, because I'm almost as old as you are, so you couldn't have been my dentist when I was 8. But you then became my dentist and took care of me and the kids. And oddly enough, I moved far away from you, and you're so fantastic, and I'm going to tell that story. but you're so fantastic. I actually drive an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes just to see you because having the right medical professional, especially for teeth, is super important. The one thing I wanted to mention before we get going, though, is you, which I didn't know, actually served in a position for dental oncology, right? For the Cancer Treatment Centers of America?
Yes, Treatment Centers of America, an organization which just recently sold and is now referred to as City of Hope, but for many years, for decades, ran under the name and operated 4 locations nationwide under the name Cancer Treatment Centers of America. I worked in their outpatient dental clinic a couple of days a week, but we also did all of the dental oncology consults. So as you all know and are familiar with, with in terms of stem cell transplantation and things like this, these patients would undergo a dental consultation prior to their immune systems being knocked down so low for the stem cell retrievals. And we would just need to rule out any kind of major infection or something like that that could cause a problem once they initiated treatment. So it was actually kind of a nice sideline aspect to my general practice, right? Which is, a conventional drill and fill and, somewhat surgical general practice. So it was interesting. Got to meet a lot of patients. That facility attracted patients from all over the country. They did, national campaigning and all their marketing and that type of thing. So I treated patients from all the different states. Very interesting. Saw a lot of interesting lesions, cancer situations, but exclusively I saw a lot of these stem cell transplant patients pre-operatively.
Yeah, it's, when I hear the word oncology, right? And I have my own personal experience, of course, with that as somebody who walked through Hodgkin's lymphoma. I don't really think of dental or oral when I hear that word, right? We think of breast cancer, prostate cancer, blood cancers. But I know when I'm sitting in your chair, you grab my tongue, you lift it up, you lift it down and sideways and turn it upside down to, right, to even
Correct.
inspect. And I think it's really important, as a side note today, that people understand that that's still an aspect of health that commonly doesn't get checked out appropriately. And yet, if we miss that, it can be potentially life-threatening.
Yeah, and I mean, quite honestly, a thorough dental exam today should have an extra oral component to it. I mean, cervical lymph chain glands, thyroid, obviously soft tissues, lateral borders of the tongue, which again gets back to intraoral, but these things need to be attended to. Had a case very recently where I saw a new patient and his tongue was a mess. And I said, you need some biopsies. He's like, no, I've had this all biopsied. And I'm like, well, I'm just telling you, it's the worst tongue I've seen in 33 years. And he was really reluctant to a biopsy. He said it was lichen planus and it was a benign situation. I said, I'm just telling you, I've never seen such an aggressively recontoured tongue with all these lesions. And sure enough, about 6 months ago, I got a call from the wife that he had some pain, went to an ENT, and he had a massive tumor at the base of his throat, which I had wanted biopsied a year and a half ago. So kind of an excessive case, but just goes to show you, the follow-up could have been so, he's doing fairly well right now, but has undergone a lot of excessive treatment, including a surgical excision, which in the mouth becomes very radical, right? So yeah, I mean, extra oral components, really paying attention to the tongue, super important.
All right. So as much as I've got like this burning question I want to ask you, but you bring up something really interesting I want to talk about. I remember reading an article many years ago where there was a reporter and he went to see, 17 different dentists with a supposed condition and got 17 different answers ranging from, don't do anything all the way to tens of thousands of dollars worth of treatment. And I had a similar experience. I don't know if you remember, but after I had given birth to my third son, I was having some bleeding in the gums, which I proceeded to tell the dentist I saw, who was local, that I was pretty confident it was due to hormonal changes because I was nursing. It wasn't the first time. And after he gave me a $20,000 dental recommendation, I called you back and I said, I know you haven't seen me in a while. I trust you. If I drive up, will you take a look and be really honest with me with what I need? And, you didn't hesitate. And, needless to say, I was nowhere near $20,000 worth of work. And in between you and even him, I had another consult locally, because again, who wants to drive an hour and 45 minutes to their dentist? I do now, but and he prescribed a lot of work too. And I think that's interesting where you made a recommendation to somebody and they didn't even follow it. How do we know? How do we find the right professional that we trust to give us that information? Because like I'm even a physician and I don't know teeth, right? Like I would have no idea if what you tell me is truly what I need. So what separates you to be that kind of dentist, to give that honest care, and how do people find you?
Well, look, it's all about relationship building, right? I've been practicing 33 years. It also involves ethical diagnosing, right? It was something I learned from Dr. Gorshaw many years ago. He said, I don't care how slow you are, never, never, never get aggressive or more aggressive than usual with your diagnosing. If you're slow, and you suck it up and you move on. And I've always followed that mantra, but I will say that it is really, really, really challenging sometimes to build that trust relationship. And, I would tell you that earlier on in my practice, in what I would call my more immature days, I might potentially get slightly offended if somebody told me they're going for a second opinion. And as you know, Cindy, in your practice, now I welcome patients and give, and say, hey, have at it. I'm all about it. Go get a second opinion, a third opinion, come back, let me know how it goes. I'm willing to, work with that person as well. Patients have become consumers today, right? They're not just patients. They're very much consumers. And so I think it's this juggling act, quite honestly, of gaining trust with the patients through having a nice relationship, talking with patients, learning a little bit about their lives, not just about their dental condition, right? I mean, look, you and I are friends not because we talk about teeth as much as we talk about, I say, hey, how are your kids? And, you and I probably give each other too much information about our kids, right? We enjoy that conversation. And then my girls get mad at me because I run late, because I talk too much chairside. But building those relationships, you know how that goes, right? I mean, building those relationships are so important. So I would say to you that it's not super common that patients want to go get a second and third opinion after seeing me, but I'm all about it. If that's what they feel more comfortable with in today's day and age, I understand it. If they don't come back to me, I understand that even more now than I did certainly 25, 30 years ago.
Right. Yeah. We get hired, we get fired, and there's many reasons for it. And it's really okay. Right.
Yes. I
Because
mean,
the
you got to be
patient
able
needs
to
to
handle it.
advocate for themselves.
Easier at our stage of the ball game, right? To accept the
It
firing
is.
part. I mean, we've been doing it long enough.
It is. When you got a car payment and a mortgage bill and you're a little scared financially, it's a little harder, right? When you
Correct.
become a little
Yes,
more
absolutely.
secure, people
Yes.
need to walk away, they walk away. Yeah,
True.
absolutely.
No doubt
All
about
right, so let's get to the fact that I almost punched you actually I think I punched you, quite frankly. And this goes back many, many years, and I needed a dental procedure and I was really nervous, and as it turns out, there was this possibility I could have been pregnant. And you had prescribed, and I'm just for everybody out there, I am a horrible patient. Like, I am great on this side, right? But when I'm the patient, I turn into about a 3-year-old scared child, and I don't do pain
you and
and
every other
discomfort
physician
well.
in my practice, Cindy.
Yeah,
You guys are the worst. I mean, you guys really
we
are.
are.
I love you all, but you guys all know too much. That's the problem.
I think there's truth to that, but yeah. So I admit that, right? I admit I'm not a good patient. So you had written me a prescription for Valium, which I could probably use more today than I could have back then. But you had written me this prescription. Now, bear in mind, I'm a natural physician, so that already made me nervous, right? You know my philosophy, and I don't like to put all these chemicals and foreign things in my body. But I also needed to get through the procedure. Well, when you had found out that there was a possibility I was going to be pregnant, you're like, no more Valium, right? Not a good drug to take. And I don't know if you remember this. You actually came in on a day off to give me extra time because you knew I'd be hysterical. And you allowed me to bring my acupuncture needles in because I treated certain points that work as a local anesthetic. Crazy, I know, but it did work. And as you numb me, I don't know if I have accessory nerves or whatnot, but it's very difficult to get me numb like a typical patient. And I felt some of the things you're doing, and I'm pretty sure I punched you. And you were like, I mean, you're still talking to me. So you were an amazing sport about it. But here's my big question then. When people come in nervous, right? And I was nervous and I still show up. How do you make them comfortable in the chair? What happens in your office? What kind of environment are you providing? What's important so that we, as your patient, can get over our anxiety, even with something that can be very scary as a significant procedure?
Hey, look, I mean, this is the reason that only 35% of the general public seeks dental care, right? It's all about apprehension. It's all about phobias, right? So we know that. I would tell you it starts when patients walk in my door. I try to always have somebody at the front desk who's very cordial, respectful. If they sense that there's some apprehension going on, I know about it in the back because they run back and they tell me, hey, look. Now, if it's a patient I'd already seen before and this might be the first reappointment type of appointment, I would have already expected it, right? Obviously, there's different medications and things like that. But again, I mean, I think really training your staff, making sure that they recognize everybody's apprehensions, and then don't come into these operatories, these rooms that we do our procedures in, storming, right? I don't care if you're running behind or not. Sit, touch the patient on their shoulder, and say, hey, it's going to be okay. I can see you're nervous, or I could see their carotids bulging, their pulse rate, their increased pulse rate out the sides of their necks, right? And so I may take their blood pressure very commonly and a heart rate on them, make sure they're healthy enough to go through the procedure. But if I see that they're that apprehensive, doing the dentistry becomes secondary to me. Now it's all about how can I get to the procedure today? And if I don't, maybe that's not the worst thing in the world, right? Maybe if I take their blood pressure, for instance, and it's up, and I don't feel comfortable doing the procedure because they have an elevated blood pressure, all due to the phobia and the apprehension. So be it. So it's a block of time out of my schedule. It's a non-producing block of time. I don't really care, especially at this stage of my career. But letting the patient know that they can have some say in the matter and not just be pushed into a chair and say, "Hey, we're doing this," putting them back and getting going anyway. I think and that involves a lot of communication also. Relationships, building relationships, letting patients know that, hey, we don't have to do this today, or let's take our time. Let's go walk through this. What are you nervous about? How can I answer any more questions? Taking the time, critical.
I love that. And I will tell you, as a long-term patient, you've given me nothing but time, right? Everything but time. Did I say that right? Nothing but time. I don't know how that goes. You give me time, right? When I sit
Well,
in the
I got
chair.
a great story I've got to share with you. I remember the
Okay,
first
I'd
time
love
when
it.
you did travel back. We knew each other because I had this relationship in the office that I mentored in right out of graduate school, and I knew you and your sister as a teenager. Knew your mom and dad, wonderful people. And I remember when you first came back and you trekked that hour and a half. You were early in your chiropractic, career, and you slapped like 4 articles of papers stapled together. Like, all right, are you still using this silver stuff? Because this mercury is bad news. What's going on? Give me the updates on that. And then I said, I will get through it. And you came back quickly. I assume thereafter, like, did you read those articles? I'm like, I'll be honest, I haven't gotten to those articles yet. And you're like, yeah, well, you're not touching me until you get through those articles. You remember that? I remember that.
I do. I do. And I still won't let you use fluoride, and I still reject some of the x-rays, right?
Yeah, it's
But
all fair.
here's what's great is I get to be my own advocate in your office. And yet, whether you agree or disagree with me, you've always been extremely respectful. And I think that's key for a medical professional. I know my patients don't always agree with my choices and vice versa, right? In the office. But that mutual respect is why they keep coming back and why I continue to see you, because there's no judgment.
And I think
Wait, did you read those articles yet? Have you gotten through them? It's
well, I
been
did
many
years
years.
ago. And so interestingly, so those were articles that were not the ADA would have never touched those articles, right? Wouldn't have been good PR for them. And we're talking, this was like, I don't know, what was it, like maybe right around the year 2000, late 90s, early 2000s at the most is when you gave me those articles. They were not ADA accepted because they just, I mean, we could get into that story if you ever wanted to talk about amalgam and the whole mercury. The fact that it's still on the store shelves to me is crazy. I don't believe it's as horrible as you might, but the reality is, why are we even testing it anymore when we have substitution materials that we know are more biocompatible, right? But I think that the one, if I could share one thing too, is that, and I didn't realize this till I read your book. I said this to you. I said, I didn't know what you were going through. I knew you were sick. I knew you were walking this journey, right? But I didn't know what you went through until I read that book. And that book, whether you're walking through I've given that book and ordered that book and sent it to about 4 of my patients, 2 of whom
Thank you.
had Hodgkin's, and they couldn't believe it. They tickled them, and it gave them a few laughs during what were probably some harder times, right, during chemotherapy and stuff. But after that, and you walk through that, I think you and I we hit a new plateau in terms of how we related to each other. Did you pick up on that 5-6 years ago? Like, I looked at you in my office. I said, I did not know you were going through this so severely. I'm sorry. Like, I just, you were very, it was a very relatively private struggle, other than some of your closest friends who you let in because you needed their help, right, and their support.
Right.
So I don't know. I always appreciated that, and the book really kind of tied that all in together. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks. We truly don't know what anybody's walking through, right? We walk our own walk and nobody else's, and that's where I think the time and the kindness and the support matter, especially in medicine. All
For
right,
sure.
so here's my burning question, and I'm just going to ask it. Do we really need to brush our teeth 3 times a day and floss? I mean, come on, tell me the truth. Is that really, like, is that just a thing that was created by somebody somewhere and now everybody tells you have to do it? Or is that legit?
All right, so I'm going to give you an A and a B answer, okay?
Okay.
The A answer is it's absolutely legit, okay? But hang out for the B answer because you might have more fun with that, okay? But the A answer is removing bacterial counts is always beneficial. And our bacterial counts are highest when we wake up in the morning after things are kind of fermenting in our mouths through the night, right? These are anaerobic bacteria. These bacteria do not need oxygen to survive. So if you're not a mouth breather, although most people are, these bacteria replicate and grow through the course of the night. So removing those bacterial counts is huge. And you can't get to them all where the teeth touch together with a brush alone, right? So you've got to get something in between. Floss is the number one example. I think and so the 2 to 3 times a day brushing and the flossing minimally once a day, super helpful, absolutely legit. Here's what's less legit in my opinion. Patients always ask me, they're always looking for excuse. These are patients I can't get to brush and floss enough, but yet they want to know if they should go buy, the latest Braun Oral-B toothbrush or if they should buy the latest this and that. And I'm like, or, the latest, what Waterpik now refers to as water flossers, right? They're water flossers, but that sounds a little sexier than water picks, right? So,
Right.
but they're still water picks. Okay. And I think these things are great adjuncts if you're not picking up the brush and putting a piece of string between your teeth. I tell patients all the time, I don't care if it's a piece of fishing line, use it. Getting in the contact areas is huge. When I see children, especially with decay interproximally on the in-between surface of the teeth, it's because they're not flossing. They're not taking one of those little pediatric floss forks and getting in there. Sugar content and intake's probably a little higher than normal and what we'd like, but it is absolutely legit. If I see a 6 to 10-year-old child coming in, or arguably even a 6 to 10-year-old or 12-year-old, and they have kind of numerous lesions when we take the bite wing X-rays, radiographically very reduced exposure time these days. I can tell right away what their oral hygiene habits are at home. And I tell mom and dad, like, look, I know by the end of the day you don't feel like fighting this fight, but this is the difference between the kids that have cavities and don't. It's very
See, and
good.
this is why I bring you samples of my silver biotic tooth gel that destroys the microbiome film on the teeth while you're sleeping so that you wake up and it's smooth and sexy when you see, I'm still bringing you stuff right into the office.
It never ceases to amaze me.
I'm always dropping off samples and articles and all that. Okay, how much does genetics play a role? So, like, I tell this story, like, when I was married, that's not the story. But when I had met my ex-husband, he hadn't been to a dentist for 14 years, and I was disgusted and grossed out. And I'm like, you're going to the dentist, right? So we get him an appointment, he goes to the dentist, they clean him up, they're like, he's fine. How is he fine? 14 years, no dental care, no flossing. Like, do some people, though, just have good genetics where no matter what, they can not take care of themselves and still be okay?
100%. And we see it in two ways. One is the quality and the density of the enamel. Some people are predisposed to softer enamel, and those patients are going to be more predisposed to getting carious lesions, cavities and these types of things, right? Fractures, things like that. And the second relates to the whole bacterial foundation and the gum and the periodontium, right? The gum and the supporting bone. I mean, there's certain ethnic backgrounds, patients of Indian descent, patients of Asian descent, very genetically predisposed to foundational periodontal issues, meaning, deleterious levels of bone around the teeth. They lose teeth early, very common. But also within all ethnic backgrounds, in patients' families, more specifically, periodontal disease runs in a very genetic pattern. So softer enamel and genetic patterns to the foundation, very genetic, huge genetic component.
All right. So last question before we take a break that I want to find out. There's a lot of sort of negative press in dentistry about mental health. And I think mental health is a big factor just in general in our world, but especially in your profession. How do you take care of yourself?
Well, I remember the statistic. I don't know if it's still true, but when I got out of dental school, they give you this little pitch that dentists have the third highest suicide rate because we're exposed to so much negative. I don't know if that stat's still true, it's still number 3, but I know it's high on the list because of all the negative conditioning. You know how many times I sit down, daily, people are like, I don't want to be here, or, I don't really like it. People like you. For me, it's about balance, right? And when I was working 6 days a week, raising 2 young kids, I had less balance in my life. But at this age, I'm 58 years old. I've been in practice 33 years. I work out, right? Stress relief, huge for me. I work out for sure always 3 mornings a week. And that's pretty much it. Every once in a while, if I have a couple extra days off due to a holiday weekend, I might get 4 in. But I feel better on those days. I have an extra bounce in my step when I'm bouncing around my office if I work out that day. That's huge for me. And as I've grown a little bit older, I do take a little more time away from my practice. I have an associate who works with me now. I'm off all next week. I take holiday weeks. I take holiday long weekends, that kind of thing. Other than that, we all know cortisol release is a bad thing. And there's not a day that goes by that after I've just finished up my day here as we're recording this, and I can tell you that I had stresses and different things that were raised today, problems, right? We're solving problems all day. You know that better than anybody, right? And so I try to minimize it. It still exists. I don't think it's ever over until the day you retire. But I think working out, trying to keep, I try to keep fairly thin and fit. I watch my diet fairly well, and just had all my blood work. You would have been proud of me. I just had all my blood
I've
work.
also seen you play the piano a couple times, posted on
Ah,
Facebook.
well,
So
that's like therapy. Now that's a little different. That's literally my personal therapy, right? So that is one of my things.
yeah.
So yeah, I sit down often now that the kids are out of the house and I don't have anybody yelling from upstairs. Dad, we're trying to study. That now I play even more. So yeah, that is definitely my piano is therapy for me.
I love it. We'll post more of it because we all need a little bit of that. And we definitely need some music in our life too. All right, you guys out there, we're going to take another break because my sponsors are super important to me. So take a listen and maybe you floss for the second time so you can tell your dentist that you actually got it in twice today. Because I know I haven't done it yet either. And I hate to admit that, but it's true. So hang tight, take a listen. We're going to be right back. This is your weekly dose of Dr. Cindy, the Positively Altered podcast. Starting your weekend out right with Dr. Cindy and the Positively Altered podcast. Welcome back. I'm glad you're still here. This is one of my favorite parts of the show because even though we talked all things dental, and I think everybody got some really awesome information and hopefully overcame a little bit of fear and anxiety or knowing how to look for maybe the right dental professional, this has nothing to do with your teeth, Dr. B. I'm going to throw some questions at you. I just want you to answer them as honestly as you can. First thing that comes to mind. If you got to think about it and you take too long, we're going to buzz you and then we're off to the next one. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. If you could make snow any color in the world, what color would you make it?
Gray. It's my favorite color.
Gray is your favorite color?
Gray is my favorite.
Is that because there's so many people that come in with like gray colored teeth?
No, I
Where
think
does
it's
the
since
gray
my
come
hair
from?
changed color.
What is it?
Since my hair changed color.
Oh,
I love gray shirts. I got blue scrubs on today, but Thursdays and Saturdays I wear gray.
okay. Gray snow. I'm not sure that's going to make it look a little
Well, what
nicer
color would
outside, but
snow be? What color would it look better in? I don't know.
I don't know. My answer would have been purple, but nobody's asked
Oh,
me
well,
that
see,
yet.
okay,
So I
purple.
would have said purple.
Purple rain. See, purple rain I get. Purple snow, I'm not so sure.
I don't know. I might make rain orange. I'm going to have to think about that.
All right, you got it.
Purple and orange. Those are the Dr. Cindy colors. Okay. If you could pick any drink to drink for the rest of your life, would it be sweet, sour, or strong?
Sweet, sour, or strong? I would say this is really bad, but I'm going to be honest. Probably sweet.
Sweet? You just told us all sugar was bad.
Well, it is, but I am one of those guys who brushes 2 to 3 times a day and flosses once a day, so I don't get overly wound up about it.
Oh, I see. So if I floss 3 times a day, I can put sugar back in my diet?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I know you, and I know how you operate. Sugar's not your thing, so you're not going to do that.
Okay. Even beyond the teeth, right? Like I guess if I could just suck on it and spit it out and floss.
Now, if you're talking to me on a Saturday night at the lake, looking out at boats and just enjoying, which is my happy place, it would be strong, but that's only like 1 or 2 nights a week.
Okay, so it depends on the day.
Yeah, all right, I'll give you that. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. If you could be in the Olympics and you could excel at any sport, what sport would you pick?
I got to tell you, I love the swimming. I've never, I do cardio when I work out and this and that, but swimming is a different level of cardio, right? And I've never been great at it. I love being in a pool, but I mean, the competitive swimming to me, and from an athleticism standpoint, in the summer, we'll see a bunch of it. Unbelievable.
So would you want to swim by yourself or do you want to be part of a relay team?
I always, even in like watching track, I think the relay team thing is very cool. Team effort, right? I mean, I know a local kid here in Glenview, or actually one town over, who swam. His name was Connor Dwyer. I don't know if you remember. He swam with Phelps on that relay team 2 Olympics ago, and he won a gold medal. I mean, it was pretty incredible. Local kid.
And at 58 years old, you're still okay with the Speedo? You do that?
Oh no, I didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
I didn't say that. I might be the only guy out there with like normal, board shorts. not this
Well,
week.
again, we're making this up, so that could be the uniform of choice.
Nice try, though. Nice try.
Yeah, so this is totally fictional. Okay. So everybody always wants to know if you could pick one famous person who you would want to sit down and go to lunch with. I don't really care if you know anybody famous. I want to know what you would actually eat at that meal.
Italian.
Okay, but what Italian? I mean, like, is there a whole table full of Italian food?
I would start with cacio de pepe, like from like Rome style, right? Pasta with a pepper and cheese, and then probably maybe a little eggplant parmesan. I would definitely finish it off with a cannoli or tiramisu.
You know you're killing me, right?
Sorry, it's my favorite.
It's okay. Like I'm the doctor that preaches no
And
dairy.
the guy you want to know the guy that I would love to have that Italian meal with? Warren Buffett.
Really?
How interesting would that guy be to talk to? Just plain old simple guy, simple investing, built an empire. I think probably, really ran an ethical operation. Is turning over the reins now, right? Charlie Munger passed, his cohort, and now, Warren's getting up there, right? He's already passed down the reins to that Canadian guy. I got to tell you, I think how great would it be to have lunch with him?
See, and now I feel bad. Sorry, Warren, but I cared more about what you were going to eat than who you were going to eat it with.
Well, the food is, I didn't say that he was more important than the food. I just said that's who I would like to break bread with. That's all.
Okay, fair enough. Well, if we can't get Warren, I will come, but I'm going to have gluten-free pasta and dairy-free eggplant parmesan if there is such a thing.
All right, and I'll forgive you for that.
Okay, sounds good.
I understand you. I understand you.
Again, that mutual respect, no matter what we believe, right?
I love it. Yeah.
No, it's perfect. Okay, and lastly, my final question. This is huge. You ready?
Yes.
What was your favorite thing about doing the podcast today?
Well, I'll be honest. It's the first one I've ever done. So I think I was really excited about that. But more so, I have followed you, especially since reading this book. I feel like I've learned more about you. I love your personality. I love how you approach things not only in your private practice, but now that you are more on the lecture circuit and, now you're a published author. So I think sitting down with you, not in the office, not with you in the chair and me, being in the stool next to your chair. I think that's probably what I was looking forward to.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So tell me, if anybody is willing to drive an hour and 45 minutes or get on a plane or a train or a boat to come see you, how do people find you?
Well, we have a social media presence. I mean, in terms of where I'm located and that type of thing. So I'm in Glenview.
Or how they find you on social media just to find you?
Yeah, so the last name is Bordignon, Bordignon, Bordignon Dental Associates, at Bordignon Dental Associates on Instagram. And we've got a portal through the website. People can ask questions and that type of thing without even coming in. I mean, how much more non-threatening can that be, right? Where patients just can access us, myself or my associate. The emails go to us from the portal. Glenview, Illinois. I've been in this location, and I've been here my whole career, 33 years.
I love it. So if you really do need somebody great, I'm going to highly recommend Dr. B. He's worth the plane flight, the train, the bicycling, swim. If you want to, join the relay with Dr. B, just swim on in. My favorite thing about the podcast today was that you are actually here too, because I'm going to be real honest. I didn't even think about having you on as a guest initially. I came in for my cleaning as I do every 4 months because I go 3 times a year because I'm a good plaque overachiever. So I get my cleanings. And I was laughing because I was recording my Dr. Cindy social media 30 seconds on a life in Dr. Cindy in the dental chair. And I said, do you want to be in the video? And you, without hesitation, you said, oh my gosh, yes. And we did a little recording. And I thought how fun this would be to spend a little more time together. So my favorite thing is that you really just did volunteer to be a guest. And as it turns out, great information, lots of stuff for our viewers to think about. If you want to learn more about what I'm up to, come check me out at drcindyspeaks.com. You can join my network. If you want to pick up the book, you can do it through my website or check it out on Amazon. You can read it or listen to it. I'm so appreciative that you were here with us today. Again, take a listen to the sponsors. They're just as important. And we'll see you next time.